Welcome to Shaped by Faith with your host, Theresa Rowe. To find out more about Shaped by Faith and Theresa Rowe, please visit shapedbyfaith.com or visit the YouTube channel, Facebook, or Instagram. And now, here is Theresa Rowe.
Welcome to Shaped by Faith, where we shape our bodies and hearts for God's purposes. My guest today is Patricia Bradley. She is an author, an awesome author. I've read her books, and you need to as well. So Patricia has 3 series published by Revell, a division of Baker Books: the Logan Point Series, the Memphis Cold Case Novels, and the Natchez Trace Park Rangers. And I've read all of them, and they are so good. And I love the way you write, Patricia. We're going to get into that, okay? Counterattack, the first book in her 4th, the Pearl River series, released in 2023. And the second book, Fatal Witness, came out this February. She also has a new book released this November, Deadly Revenge, which completes the series. Patricia is also co-founder of Aiming for Healthy Families, an abstinence healthy relationship organization that offers youth the skills to make their better choices. And she speaks to audiences nationwide about writing, and she teaches writing courses at conferences. So welcome back, Patricia, to Shaped by Faith.
Thank you. I always enjoy being here.
Well, I love you as a guest because you're so inspiring. I love your story, and I'd love for you to recap it just a little bit. So when did you realize that God had given you the gift of writing? Because it is an absolute gift. You've churned out all these books. And so when was the aha moment?
Well, there were 2. One was when I never intended to be a writer. I was a reader. I read everything I could get my hands on, from the comic books when I was 5 years old, or the comic page in the paper, and comic books until now. I mean, I read everything I can that I can find time for. But when I was 35, I couldn't sleep, and I never had any thoughts of being a writer until one night a man appeared in my vision. And he was standing at a window, and he turned and he looked at me and he said, "My life was not supposed to turn out like this."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, wow, okay. And so when I couldn't sleep, I began to tell myself stories of why his life turned out so badly. And he went away, and then these other people came to live in my head, and they wouldn't go away until I told their stories. And I started out writing short stories, and Woman's World published the very first thing I ever wrote, The Snow Leopard. And that encouraged me. I think that was a God wink.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, maybe I better do this, or these people are going to drive me crazy. So I did. I started writing these stories, and they actually were published. And then I started a book, and 32 years later, my first book released.
Oh my goodness. All right. So how old were you when your first book was published?
I was 5 days beyond my 69th birthday.
Wow. Okay. So, but you're still young, Patricia.
I know.
You are still young. Okay.
It's only a number.
That's right. That's right.
But-
So what inspired your writing? What was these characters that were coming in? They inspired you? Okay.
They are. My characters. I mean, my stories always start with a character.
Mhm.
The very first book, that's the Logan in the Logan Point, which is Shadows of the Past. And by the way, I'm going back. I'm writing, or the book I'm working on right now is back in Logan Point.
Okay.
So, and I made a huge mistake not making a Bible of all the places. So I'm having to reread the books.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but one morning I was working in the abstinence program. After my husband passed away, I thought, well, I'll take a couple of years and see if I can get a book published.
Mhm.
And next thing I know, I'm working in the abstinence program and have no fiction thoughts at all for 8 years. And I helped co-write a abstinence curriculum, a workbook, and worked in the schools. But then I went to part-time, and one day this woman popped in my head, much like when I first started writing, and she told me her name was Taylor and someone was trying to kill her. And I said, yes, God has given me back my murder mysteries.
Oh my God. So the vision, like, were you awake, Patricia, and this person just popped in your head?
I
Really?
was I was have actually in my quiet time, and I don't even remember what I was reading. At that point I was reading through the Bible uh every year. I still
Mhm,
am. And
mhm.
I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden Taylor's there, and she tells me that someone's trying to kill her. And so
Wow.
that was the germ of the story. And I worked on it. That was in 2008, I believe. And I worked on it till I went to Susie Mae Warren's first deep thinkers retreat. And by the third one, I learned something new every year and applied it. By the third one, I actually had a contract.
Oh,
Or
wow.
the very last one, I had a contract. And for Shadows of the Past. So I had an agent. I mean, it's amazing. God has directed my path, and
Mhm.
my life verse is delight yourself in the Lord, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. Well, I'm thinking I'm delighting myself in you, Lord, but my desires are not yet met. And then I found verse 7, which is that's Psalm 37:4. Well,
Mhm.
then I verse 7 actually hit me. I read it every year, but I guess I skipped over it. It says, wait patiently for the Lord to act.
That's right. That's
So
right.
I began to just enjoy the journey then, and quit trying so hard, and quit just tell the story that he laid out for me. And
Mm.
uh, the journey then became fun, because I knew it wasn't up to me whether I was published or not. It was up to God, and he brought it all together.
I love that. He will meet the desires and answer the desires of your heart. I love that verse. And,
I
I
did.
prayed that. Yeah, I prayed that over finding a God-fearing husband many, many years ago. And then 5 years later, God brought a man into my life. And so he will do that for
He
you
will. He
as you
absolutely.
wait on him. And
As
that's the
you wait.
hard part is
That
waiting.
doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't mean you sit and do nothing, because
That's
I keep
right.
fighting.
You
And
keep moving towards that thing that you have prayed about, is, as long as it lines up with God's desires for your life. And he always tweaks things and molds and shapes things so much better than we could do that. So I love that. You've
and
written a lot of books. Okay. So how many books have you written?
since to that first book, I have written 18 in the last, and I wrote it in 2012, finished it up in 13, and I'm working on book 18 and 5 novellas.
Wow, that's incredible. So, and getting published is not an easy task. And
No,
so
no,
God opened up that door for you, because it isn't an easy task. And so he's given you, like he's given all of us, certain gifts and talents to be used for his glory. And I love what you're using with what God has given you. So why did you choose to write under your own name?
well, I wrote under my maiden name. I didn't write under my married name because, first of all, no one could pronounce it. All the time I was in the abstinence program, a teacher would look at my name and murder it. And it's really not that hard. But I thought, well, and I actually never thought about writing under my. I always wanted to write under Patricia Bradley. I didn't
Uh-huh.
want to use Patricia. But we never like our name.
I know. I know. It's true.
So I'm in 2012. Revell. I actually turned the book in under P.T. Bradley.
Ah.
Well, Revell, they said it's not a deal breaker, but we wish you would choose a different first name. So I'm going through names with my mother and on the phone, and I said I was going through different ones, and I said, Olivia, how you like that? How's that sound with Bradley? And she was quiet. And next thing I heard was, if I hadn't thought Patricia was pretty, I wouldn't have named you that.
That's good. There you go.
So guess what I write under?
I love that. Let's take a real quick break, okay, Patricia, and we'll be right back with more Shape by Faith. So everyone stay tuned. Welcome back to Shaped by Faith, where we shape our bodies and hearts for God's purposes. Patricia Bradley, author, and she's just a great motivator and she's an inspiration. She's on Shaped by Faith today. And Patricia, tell us again, how many books have you written? Since when?
I have written 18 books since 2013. I'll start 19 when I finish the one I'm working on, but yeah, 18 books.
That's
Over
a
a
lot
million
of
words.
books. All right,
It
let me ask you this, because that sounds like a lot in a very short period of time over the years. Does writing come easy to you?
Not really.
Really?
Not, no. If I'll sit down, if I do what I'm supposed to do, sit down at the computer, and if like right now, I'm not quite sure where the book story's going. I know it's got to go somewhere. I'm halfway done, and I'm used to be a plotter, and now I guess I'm a pantster. But I never dreamed I would do that. I thought I would always know this exactly where the story was going. Well, I do know what will happen at the end, but that's good. But
Yes.
I've got to get from the midpoint to the end. So, and there's a lot that has to happen between now and then. So,
So from now until the end of the novel, do you still have these, these visions of characters telling you, okay, let's go in this direction, or how does that work with you?
I think through my fingers, and I have to sit down at the computer and start writing, and then the ideas, and then it'll just one sentence will lead to another. And prayer, I never prayed as much as I have since I've been a writer, and especially these last few years, because a lot of life happens, and as you get older, you lose friends, you get don't have the energy maybe that you did have. Although I am blessed with an abundance of energy. I'm ADHD, and that is one of the perks of being ADHD is energy. So, but I if I've learned that if I will sit down and start typing, whether it's a grocery list, as long I'm just start typing, the words will come.
So as you move your fingers on the keyboard, like by faith, those words come. I love that.
I really wish I could do diction, but I can't. I'm not a storyteller. I'm a story writer.
You're good at it, obviously.
But yeah, I didn't realize there was a difference. Now I have a friend who is a storyteller, and she can tell some fantastic stories. But if I start trying to tell you about my book, it gets so convoluted that, I'm just not a storyteller. I can't get down to the nuts and bolts when I'm speaking it.
Yeah, you're a story writer. Absolutely. So how do you make, your words count and meaningful? Because I know how important that is, especially in writing a book and in the editing phase and all that. And your words do count, and they are very meaningful when you're reading your stories.
I am, like I said, I was published first in Woman's World, which in a short, which was, when I started out, it was 2,500. You write a story, 2,500 words or less. I sent them 4,500 words the first time. I mean, I was really green, and by all rights, she should have just popped that manuscript into the SASE that I sent and sent it back to him, but she liked the story and she cut it. Okay, it goes on. Well, the next story I wrote, I had learned. I only sent 2,500 words for 2,000. They wanted 2,000. I just sent 25. They bought it, but that editor made me cut it myself. And that taught me the value of making every word count. And I blame Woman's World for me being a very lean writer. I never have to cut. I never overshoot my words. I usually lay down the suspense line and then go back and add the romance, because as I've said before, it's easier to kill them off than it is to get them together.
That's good. What has been your response to your book, Fatal Witness?
People loved it. It actually hit the ECPA bestseller list when it released, and the people they seem to really like it. And then I'm hoping for the same thing for Deadly Revenge. And I have to be really careful because the whole time I'm writing the story, it's Deadly Vengeance.
Okay.
And I have to be careful not to write that on, like, if I'm doing a Facebook post, I have to make sure that I'm saying Deadly Revenge.
That's right. Well, and we're going to see your book cover in,
Yeah.
yeah, Deadly Revenge. There it is. So if you're on podcast, you can see that right now. So I know you're certain to get your fair share of reviews on your published work. So what's your opinion on reviews?
I never read them. Occasionally my
You do
publisher,
not?
I do not read reviews. One bad review would send me in a tailspin probably for a couple of days. I mean, at this point, I can't change the story. I trust my editors, and I turn in the best manuscript that I can, and then we end up with the best book that I can produce. And my writing is not going to please everyone. I found that out when I was entering contests, and I would get a 98 and a 98 and a 59.
Oh, gosh.
So
Wow.
that taught me that everyone would not like what I write. So I literally I occasionally they will send me a review because we're going to make a meme or a graphic,
Mm-hmm.
and I do read it, but I can't. I can't change. I can't change. I just don't read reviews. I think Shadows of the Past has about 7,000 reviews.
That's a lot.
I know. And now I think Amazon went through one time. It may only be 5,000 now, and they're 4.5 stars. So most people do like what I write. I have had complaints that it was Christian. It's
Oh.
like, what part of God's in the back that you didn't understand? But anyway.
Oh, well, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but you
Right.
don't have to read them, right? You don't
Right.
have to. No, I fully understand. Not everyone's going to like everything that we do.
No.
And we've got to be okay with that. You've got to be okay with that. And I think you've got to have a little thick skin. You
Oh,
know,
you
you're
have a
writing and you're putting yourself out there.
yeah, you have to have a very thick skin.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have, and then it's not about you personally. I
Yeah.
mean, but you put it out there and someone doesn't like it. It's like you said my baby was ugly. Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's
Yeah.
basically,
People take things differently, don't they, at times? They really do.
yeah.
Now, I know you sometimes take real life stories and you weave them in, like your
Mhm.
personal experiences, you weave them into your books. Did you do that with Fatal Witness?
I did, but I particularly did, let's say Fatal. Yeah. It was, yes, I'm a potter. The heroine of Fatal Witness is a potter, and so is her grandmother May, which she is a hoot. And then in Deadly Vengeance, I'm blowing up a dam.
Oh,
That's
we're
what
going
the
to get into that too, because that's
and
that is
so, but that's one thing that I do take a lot. I take people will tell me my life will take it would make a bestseller for you. Well, it doesn't work that way. I can't take someone else's life, but they can if they tell me their story,
Mhm.
it tucked away in my brain. And parts of it may come out in a story or in a character.
I see. Yeah,
That's basically, I mean, your characters, all of them are essentially an extension of the author in
that's
some
true.
way, even the villains, or the antagonists, because if your antagonist isn't at least a little bit likable or understandable, the reader's not going to connect. The reader needs to connect with the antagonist,
Mhm.
and there needs to be as much work done on the antagonist as the hero and heroine.
That's true. That
Like
is
you have a cardboard character, and you don't want that. You want someone that the reader can hope will change.
No, that's true. That's true. That's good. Let's take another quick break. We'll be right back with more Shaped by Faith. Welcome back to Shaped by Faith. Patricia Bradley, author, is my guest, and we're going to talk about her book, Deadly Revenge, in this segment. So, Patricia, what sort of research? Because I know you do a lot of research on your novels. What did you do for this novel, Deadly Revenge?
Well, in Deadly Revenge, the antagonist plans to blow up a dam. And
Oh,
so, which I know nothing about, but I have a friend who does. And so on the way to Memphis one day, I called him because I was to that point that I needed to know where he would put the explosives, how he would, just how much what you would do. And so I called my friend, and he goes through it, and about halfway through, he says, might not should be talking about this on the phone. We don't know who's listening, and somebody may show up at our door. So we later met in person, and we went through it, but it was very fascinating. I did a lot of research of how the antagonist would reach the place that he needed to put the charge. And under all dams, there's something called the galley. And
okay.
it goes under the water. And that's where you would put the put the charge. And so that's where he did.
So,
And
with
that
all,
was fun.
oh, go ahead, Patricia.
I said that was fun researching that. I mean, I love research. I can fall down a rabbit hole in a minute.
And you do have to do your research. You've got to know what you're talking about. You can't just write about something and just Google it and then write it. I mean, you've
Right.
got to put your heart and soul into it and go out and find out about it. I love that. What hot topic does your book deal with?
It's about eminent domain, which I have experience with when Mississippi used to have 2-lane highways. In North Mississippi, and when they 4-laned it, they came through and bought property, and some they did not offer very much, and so they would take it by eminent domain, and it caused a lot of hard feelings. In fact, some of the surveyors were shot at in parts of the county when they were surveying for the roads. So because if land has been in your family for hundreds of years, you don't always want to give it up. And that was the premise of the story, is that the city of Pearl Springs took land and built a reservoir in anticipation of needing a lot of water for industry. Well, industry had not come. They had not recruited it, and it was just the antagonist wanted to return the land to what it was previously. And that's why he was going to blow up the dam.
That's interesting. Do topics come easy for you for your novels, like this topic you just spoke about?
Well, this one, I was trying to come up with a topic.
Okay.
I went to water aerobics, and I shared it with my other water aerobics people. And one of them, I said, what is a hot topic that would make someone really angry? And different ones were named. And then one of the women said, how about eminent domain? Well, that clicked with me because we had experienced that. And I kind of knew that was something I would not have to research a lot about because I was familiar with it. And then the dam blowing up popped right in my mind, and I thought, okay, we're going with that.
That's good. So how long did it take you to write this book?
Oh, well, I usually have about 9 months, and I do about 3 months of writing or 4, and all total probably 6 to 9 months.
Okay, that's a lot of
Right. When the actual writing, I'm looking at I have a calendar with my word count on it so that I know basically when I start and how long it takes. And when I actually start writing, it's usually 3 months, but there's a lot that goes into it before that.
with anything that you're good at, I know you have to practice and practice and practice, and that takes a lot of discipline. So, how long do you write each day? Do you set aside a certain amount of time, or is it word count?
Word count, and that's where I am now. I don't go to bed till I hit my word count. And I was 10 o'clock last night because some days it's like I can't get started. I think yesterday morning I had 6 phone calls and 3 visitors
Oh,
before noon, and you can't. That's just I'm a type. Some people can write in a coffee shop. I
wow.
cannot. I have to be by myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Some occasionally I can have music, but mostly if I know someone's coming, I can kiss it goodbye.
No, I totally understand. Yes, I'm right there with you. What advice would you give to new writers who are listening?
2 pieces,
Okay.
probably. One is learn the craft. Study it. Study the authors that you love their writing, the successful authors. James Scott Bell, any craft book by James Scott Bell or Susan May Warren, Randy Ingermanson, K.M. Whelan. K.M. Whelan is more for an advanced writer,
Mhm.
but any of those, and then don't give up. What if I had given up at year 31?
That's true.
I would not be published. Just don't. I mean, publishing is such a slow business, and any earlier, and I would have been ashamed of my work. So
Mm,
it took that extra year of seasoning for
yes,
the book to work.
that is so good. Don't give up and do a lot of praying and discipline
Yes, a whole
yourself
lot of
and sit
praying.
down and write.
Yeah.
Patricia, it's always a joy to have you on Shape by Faith. Our time's up, and I want to thank you so much. So we can find you at ptbradley.com, and we can find you on all the social media platforms, on Twitter. You write a blog, you're on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. And so everyone look up Patricia Bradley and check out her books, especially her newest one, Deadly Revenge.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Patricia. And thank you for listening. I'm Theresa Rowe, and everyone have a blessed day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Shape by Faith with Theresa Rowe. Remember to visit shapebyfaith.com to find out more about workouts, the TV show, podcasts, blogs, Shape by Faith products, and much more.